Welcome back. This is part 2 of my top study tips for students. And just to recap the last video, if you haven't watched it, my first 3 tips. The first one was to set a learning intention for your study time. My second tip was to think about the strategies you're going to use to study and use the ones that are going to help you to remember the most. And my third tip was to take brain breaks during your study time and pay attention to that concentration curve. In this video, we're going to get straight into my next 3 top tips, and I've also got a free resource for you, so make sure you watch to the end so that you can grab that resource. All right, my next tip is about the environment. Now, I know there's lots of people that are like, oh, you have to have a good study environment, and that means that your desk has to be at this level and blah, blah, blah. That is important. But what's more important? This. Get rid of it. You cannot be productive in your study with your phone sitting next to you. I know this is unpopular, and I know I'm sitting right here with my phone next to me, but I'm not studying right now. And I know it's going to be hard, but let me teach you why. Let me teach you why you cannot. And this not just goes for your phone, but you also on your device, on your laptop, need to turn off any notifications. And this is why. So your capacity to learn is significantly influenced by your ability to concentrate and keep your attention focused. While this has always been true, as a student today, you are growing up in just so immersed in a digitally saturated world that the demands on your attention are far more than have ever been in the history of time. While recent studies haven't found that this has impacted your attention span, which is a good thing, your attention span's not getting smaller, but what it has done is it's actually rewired your brain to become accustomed to task switching. This is why it's important for you not to have your phone or your laptop alerts on during study time. You are not able to multitask. Your brain cannot multitask. Rather, you task switch. So you'll be studying for a bit. Oh, I've got a notification. I'll check my phone. Oh, okay, done that, and I'm back to this. There's no doing both at the same time. And actually, when you've switched your brain out of study mode and onto your phone or device or your social media, whatever it is that's distracted you, you've actually are going to take longer to get back to that point of concentration on your study. Now, this even happens if you don't check it. So if you think, I'm just not going to check my phone, I'm just going to put it over there, but you hear a notification, then your brain has still switched to think, oh, I wonder who that was that sent me that message. Or, oh, I wonder who liked my post on Instagram. Your brain is still switching. It's task switching. You need to try and keep your brain focused on what you're doing. I really like this graph here because it shows you what happens with your brain when you hear a notification, when you answer a phone call, when you check your phone while you're studying. You're not multitasking, you are task switching, and that is not helpful for your study. It's not productive. Okay, my next tip is when you're taking notes, that you want your notes to be visually appealing. So writing lots and lots of sentences, your brain's not going to remember that. And typing you're going to remember even less. So it's important when you're studying to write your notes by hand. Why? Because this involves a deeper cognitive processing than typing does. So the amount of brain capacity you have to use to actually write out a word, it's deeper and more productive than having to just type. So the brain process that has to happen to type this word as opposed to that word, it's the same. It's still the same tapping motion. But drawing a word, actually you're writing a pattern, and your brain will remember that pattern more than it would remember typing that. I hope that makes sense. Now, when you're writing notes, you don't want to write them in like long paragraphs. You actually want to firstly decipher what's going to be important and only write that. So sometimes you have to filter out the extra bits and pieces. I really love using doodle notes. And I've tagged up some free ones for you here. So go to here, the free resource, download it, and it will help you. I've just done a few different models of what doodle notes can look like. But these, firstly, there's less space on the paper that you can actually write on. That's a good thing. It's making sure that you actually prioritize what you need to know. Secondly, it gives it something more visual. So you'll be able to remember that, in this circle, I wrote this, as opposed to just, that was like the 47th line down in my paragraph that went for 5 pages. It's more visual. You'll be able to remember it more. When you're doing your doodle notes, include diagrams, anything more visual. Try and use a couple of different colored pens if you have them. It will help your brain to visualize the page. So while you might not be able to remember every word on the page, if your brain can visualize what was on the page, you're more likely to remember what was written on it, if that makes sense. My very last tip here is do as many practice exam questions as possible. Apart from the fact that it will get you used to and better at answering those questions, it is going to very, very quickly pinpoint the areas you do not know, and it is going to let you know those areas that you need to study. Now, if your brain has pinpointed, oh my goodness, I have no idea how to answer this question, then when you go to study it, your brain goes, this is actually important because I know that there was this question I had to answer and I couldn't answer it. So this is important for me to learn. This is important for me to study. It answers those questions that I posed at the beginning of, is this important? Does it matter? Yes. So try and do as many exam questions as you can, because it will help you to tell your brain what's important to study. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel, and please feel free to share this video with your friends. Thanks.